Archers, to your marks.
I've always felt that Brave is a movie that seems to divide people down the middle.
I tore a great rift in our kingdom.
Some people seem to commend Merida for her stubbornness, and others, like me, condemn the character for the same reasons. All she does is whine and get her own way.
I won't go through with this. You can't make me. Merida.
You might say I find her unbearable. Oh, come on, it's a game about bears. You should expect bear puns. So yeah, grin and bear it.
If you want to know my feelings about this in more detail, you can check out my last video. But today, we're here to talk about the game.
Go to it, boys.
This is a significant one, as it happens to be the final Pixar game released prior to the closure of Disney Interactive.
The question is, does this game miss the target?
I unlocked another door.
The game loosely follows the events of the movie, and when I say loosely, I'm guessing the movie just had no room for the armies of Spriggans, Harpies, and rampant fire pigs.
They fit right in, don't they?
To start with, Merida needs to chase down her mother, who's just been turned into a bear.
Where did she go?
Have you tried looking, well, directly in front of you?
I'm not sure how I feel about you firing arrows when you can barely see.
Is it Mum knocking down those trees?
At this stage, the controls seem fairly simplistic, but the game picks up shortly afterwards. Merida can do standard movie tie-in game things, like double jump and wall jump.
So much jumping.
Before long though, she sees the wisps and follows them to the witch's cottage.
You turned my mother into a bear. This is all your fault. My fault. My fault.
And as expected, the petulant princess blames someone else for her own terrible decisions.
Oh, stop whining. The witch gave you what you asked for. You haven't got a leg to stand on.
What the?
No offense.
Mor'du is kept alive by anger and selfishness.
The witch reveals that Mor'du's curse has corrupted the power of the ancient waystones, and caused hordes of ancient creatures to be resurrected.
Harpies, mandrakes, spirit wolves.
Just a minor detail they omitted from the movie.
The Ring of Stones basically acts as a level select hub. After clearing the arena of enemies, we can access the first location, the Forest Grove. The idea is to purify the various lands, ridding the world of this blight by eliminating all the enemies. And the game continues in this fashion as more and more portals in the Ring of Stones become accessible. Merida attacks with a sword, which she can simply swing with square, although additional abilities can later be purchased. Most often, however, you'll find yourself using your bow.
Just my bow.
Sorry, I mean your bow.
The bow is easy to use and the highlight of the game, as it should be in my opinion. To my surprise, you have an endless supply of arrows. How big is her quiver, man?
She must have a quiver to make the foes... well, quiver.
You can either fire arrows by simply pointing the right analog stick in a certain direction, or you can tap R1. Throughout the game, you also come across elemental charms, which can be used to imbue your weapons with their powers. The first charm you encounter is the Earth Charm, which can be used to vanquish root-based and flying enemies.
Go on, move along, no putting down roots here. Just kidding, I'm rooting for you guys. I can't bear that girl.
You can also use this charm to manipulate nearby plants and nature, such as disentangling vines to access a zip line and creating platforms to jump on. You later find the Fire Charm, which can be used to take out wood and ice enemies.
Hey, it's the icy type one of these guys.
As well as any debris blocking your way.
I mean, fireworks, I guess. I'm just more used to throwing children. It's a lot more fun too.
There's also the Wind Charm, which allows Merida to draw on the power of wind.
Yeah, you might want to give her a wide berth.
This can be used against stone enemies, and can also be used to levitate platforms to jump on. And finally, there's the Ice Charm, which can not only be used against fiery foes, but it can also freeze water to, you guessed it, make platforms. Such variety.
But let's not jump to conclusions. How does this game handle?
For the most part, surprisingly rather well. To switch between the various elements, you need to tap L2 and R2 to cycle through them. Which is simple enough. It can sometimes get a little confusing, especially when my fat fingers keep accidentally tapping R2, but it works well. The general platforming feels a little generic to me, but the elemental combat is interesting.
That's my favourite part!
In all honesty, while it's clearly a major departure from the movie's plot, the emphasis on elemental weapons is a pretty neat idea, and since certain enemies are more susceptible to certain charms, it requires more thought than just mindlessly destroying everything. Well, a little more thought anyway. You have to press a button first.
Press R2? Okay, now you can mindlessly destroy them.
Defeating enemies without getting hit builds up your streak combo. Will-o'-the-wisps will gather around you as your streak count increases, and this allows you to
Go streaking? Oh my god, avert your eyes! Merida's bearing all!
No. As your streak increases, you can inflict more damage on foes by performing a critical hit. While Merida in the movie left me feeling rather cold, here she's conveyed as being genuinely courageous. In her efforts to save her mom, she goes through fire and water.
Well, literally.
Once an area has been cleared of foes, the curse in that area is lifted, causing the waystone to burst with energy. It kinda reminds me of the guardian saplings in Okami. Although in appearance, they remind me of the monoliths in the dinosaur games.
Wow, I knew these were ancient, but I didn't think they were prehistoric.
These waystones appear throughout your journey, and they also act as merchants, with which you can purchase upgrades to learn new abilities and view what you've collected thus far.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Stone. A waystone!
Speaking of which, as you progress, you unlock new costumes.
That's lovely, that is.
The problem though is that the camera is ridiculously far away, so they don't feel worth it to me. The guard mail and the tartan safeguard costumes essentially make her unrecognizable. If it weren't for Merida's occasional commentary throughout, I swear I wouldn't know this was her.
That's a nice bit of gold.
I can barely see what's going on. Get it? Because bears?
Towards the end of the game, you can also find the torn attire costume. I like the fact that this is included. It reminds me of the battle-damaged Spidey costume in Enter Electro, and adds some gritty realism to the game.
Yes, realism in this game about magic bear curses and spirit wolves.
But I think it was an odd idea to have this be a costume you retrieve from a treasure chest, considering it's basically just the original royal gown, just in a terrible condition.
Now this, I wouldn't mind wearing.
Gee, thanks. Why would you wear something all torn up like that by choice? Okay, I'm aware of the irony I'm wearing a ripped denim shirt right now, but you can see where I'm coming from.
One other thing that baffles me is that these costumes are merely for show, which is odd considering the camera is so far away.
I'll look grand wearing this.
I mean, I'm sure you will, but it would be better if we could see it too. Just a suggestion.
You'd also think the guard mail would increase Merida's defense or something, but apparently not. Why would I want to wear this? Needless to say, it wasn't long before I switched back to the default dress. It might not be practical for certain terrain, but at least I can tell who she is.
Besides, there are less practical items of clothing she could be wearing. Shrek climbed a mountain in his underwear. Now that's what I call brave.
Shut up!
Sorry, I mean, well, you did. No need to be an ogre about it.
The costumes overall feel a little uninspired to me. There's the main dress, its torn variant, and a woolen covering that, from a distance, may as well just be a palette change. And the remaining two costumes barely look any different to each other from this far away.
That's as good as it gets.
Upgrades you can purchase include a dodge roll, various increases in power and weaponry, and the ability to increase your collection range, meaning you can draw in coins from further away. Once you've unlocked power attack, you can build energy in this meter whenever you receive or inflict damage. When the meter is full, pressing circle will temporarily increase the power of your attacks. One of the upgrades lets you summon little helpers in battle. Aren't they cute? They remind me of the Glove of Doom androids from Ratchet & Clank.
Adorable little homicidal things.
Every so often, you'll encounter a large group of enemies, prompting Elinor to, bear the brunt of it. These sections are actually pretty fun. You simply have to control Elinor and eliminate all the enemies. You can swipe with your claws, perform a ground pound, and perform a charging attack. These parts aren't very taxing, and they're a nice departure from Merida.
Mum,
Now and again, you'll also encounter a dead end, and will need the assistance of your 3 younger brothers, Hamish, Hubert and Harris, who are also bears.
Go to it, lads.
Their sections require you to switch between them to solve puzzles to open the way. Although these puzzles get progressively tougher, they're really not too difficult. In fact, the only time I encountered any real difficulty, it wasn't due to the gameplay itself, but the camera. This puzzle, for example, requires you to cross from one side to the other, using the crossbow to activate the platforms. But the camera is so far away, it took me a while to realise what I was looking at here. I mean, come on, if you were to see this, you can't tell me you wouldn't be confused. There's an oddly named zoom feature, which by holding the L1 button allows you to see what they call an overview of the puzzle. But seriously, it's really no help at all. I mean, look at this.
Ah, yes, it's all clear to me now.
These puzzles aren't too bad to begin with, but very quickly become tiresome. They really slow the game down in my opinion.
Overall, they're fairly average puzzles. Not the best, but nothing too grisly.
I'm very grateful for all you've done, lads.
Otherwise, you may have noticed that there is a distinct lack of secondary characters in this game.
Here, this should help your wound.
Kelly MacDonald was the only voice actor to reprise her role. As you'll likely be aware, Merida's peg-legged father, King Fergus, was voiced in the movie by Billy Connolly.
Beware the one-legged man.
No, Billy, you're the one-legged man this time. You're a good guy.
But the character is noticeably absent from this game, besides appearing in storybook-style cutscenes.
Fergus, the Bear King of Dumbro.
However, statues of him do appear throughout the game, and destroying them rewards you with mucho moolah.
Sorry, got a bit carried away there. So anyway, in layman's terms, smash your dad and he'll give you some money. That sounds absolutely disgusting. I sincerely apologise.
While playing as Merida, you find pieces of tapestries to increase your ability, and you can view these at the waystones.
That's lovely, that is.
There are 3 tapestries in total. There's a Tapestry of Valor, which increases health, the Tapestry of Battle, which increases the duration of Merida's power attack, and the Tapestry of Ferocity, which increases Elinor's damage. You also keep getting notifications that you've increased the health and ability of the Coop Wisp, and there are upgrades to purchase for this Coop Wisp.
Even better.
I spent much of the game wondering just what the hell the Coop Wisp is, and then I realised it's the Co-op Wisp, meaning a second player can join as a Wisp and help out in co-op mode. Yeah, that took me longer to realise than it should have.
Lord, give me strength.
Throughout the game, you also find hidden chests containing new, more powerful weapons.
Here's a fine weapon.
Every time you obtain a new weapon, the power of all weapons of that type is increased, meaning you can select an older sword if you have a preference for its appearance and it won't affect your power.
I don't know why you'd have a preference for their appearance when you can barely see them from this distance, but hey, it's an option.
What I do find amusing is that as the bows are upgraded, they grow to a ridiculous size.
Another fine bow.
Really, that looks more like a burden to me than an asset.
Now I want to see what this bow can do.
Speaking of the bow, there's also a PlayStation Move game you can access from the main menu, called the Archery Range. Using a PlayStation Eye and a Move controller, you can play a selection of archery games divided into 3 subheadings. There's Quiver Limit, in which you need to hit as many targets as you can with a limited number of arrows. Survival, in which you need to take out the approaching targets before they reach you. And Quick Draw, in which you simply need to hit the targets within a time limit. In order to fire arrows, you first need to hold the controller over your shoulder while holding the T button on a reverse. Then you need to aim the controller and release the T button to fire. I personally found this motion a little strange, as it feels more like you're casting a fishing rod than firing an arrow. But either way, I encountered few difficulties. The only targets I had trouble hitting were the flying harpies. I swear the hit detection was a little off with these, but it might be the case that my aim was just really bad. You're rewarded with bronze, silver and gold medals based on your performance. And honestly, I have no idea what they expect you to do to obtain top marks. Several of the later challenges seem far too difficult to me, and don't make allowances for any technical issues you might have. All the same, it's an interesting minigame, albeit pretty standard, but it's a nice addition to the game regardless.
That's lovely, that is.
The locations in this game are surprisingly varied, including the Swamp of Shadows, the coastal cliffs, and the Chilled Creek. And the level design is actually pretty admirable. Although it doesn't much feel like Brave, it feels more as though it borrows elements from previous Disney products.
It's the biggest rock golem I've ever seen.
The Buried Passage level involves a boss fight against a towering rock golem, who looks like he just wandered over from Atlantis or something. One of the most memorable locations is Murky Chasm, no doubt one of Scotland's most popular tourist destinations.
Sounds delightful. I'll send you a postcard.
Is this lava? How can that be?
Clearly you've never been in a video game before, Merida. Lava and volcanoes are about as common as giant spiders.
Though I've never come across volcanoes in Scotland before. That's a new one.
These hexagonal rock platforms also look shockingly like the ones in the Treasure Planet game.
You shake that ass, Jimbo.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that when the portal opened, Merida went through the wrong door. No wonder there are so many treasure chests around.
What a strange place to put a treasure chest.
I really don't think we're in Scotland anymore, Toto.
Yeah, I sincerely apologise for that accent. Let's move on quickly.
Lord, give me strength.
To top it off, once we reach the top of the cliffs, we have to fight a giant harpy. And now we're in ancient Greece, apparently. Where's Hercules when you need him? In all honesty, derivative or not, the combat is satisfying and regularly keeps you on your toes, especially in later stages when the elements seem a lot more diverse and mixed. And speaking of later stages, the final level of the game sees us arrive at the ruins of the ancient kingdom, where we come face to face with...
Mor'du! It's Mor'du! That line's been in the script from the very beginning and I couldn't face getting rid of it. I'm so sorry.
First we need to traverse the ruins, along with help from our brothers and Elinor, of course.
I thought you'd have changed back by now.
Yeah, I was also thinking this was dragging on a bit.
Oddly enough, in terms of story, the game arguably provides a more satisfying conclusion than the movie, in that Merida takes it upon herself to take out Mor'du.
I have to do it for myself.
How badass is that? And if that isn't, clause for alarm, Mor'du summons hordes of enemies, including the larger bosses. This is non-stop mayhem, honestly. Mor'du will bombard you with foes, one element after another. You simply need to outlast and defeat them all before taking out their respective elemental tablets, which in turn causes damage to Mor'du.
Ooh, Yogi got a boo-boo.
Before too long, Mor'du can bear no more.
And neither can I. Let's wrap this up, shall we?
That's as good as it gets.
I'm in two minds about this game. On the one hand, the combat is inspired. The use of the four elements definitely improves things. But the general gameplay does feel a tad bland, and with barely any real story to it, it feels rather lacking and extremely short. At times it doesn't even look like the movie it's supposed to be based on, but it's certainly not terrible. Lagging frame rate aside, the combat is interesting, and if you do want more of a challenge, you can play this game on the Brave difficulty setting, and it is indeed a challenge. I just can't help but feel that it could have been bigger and better, not unlike the movie itself actually. Still, as the last Pixar Disney interactive game released, this remains a decent tie-in game. It might not be a bullseye, but it's certainly not a miss either.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a picnic to attend. Wait, where's my picnic basket? Oh, you.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching as usual. This video took a little bit longer than intended, simply because I went to the trouble of finding a PlayStation Move controller, and the first one I got was faulty. It was worth it in the end though. A massive thank you to Shaney for filming me for those parts. I have to say though, I wasn't as impressed with this as I was the Polar Express PS2 iToy stuff. Maybe I was just in the Christmas spirit or something, but for its time, I thought it was pretty impressive. This, meanwhile, was decent, but a bit of a run-of-the-mill target practice. Like, it's not awful, but it's pretty much exactly as I expected it to be. Regarding the last video, as expected, it's divided opinions. Hey, I can't win them all, I guess. Even so, the response has been largely encouraging recently, especially with the recent shorts. If you want to see any future movie reviews and rants, let me know. Oh, and my apologies once again for the dreadful attempt at a Scottish accent. One of my friends is an actor and I just know she'll be dying inside when she hears it.
Lord, give me strength.
Oh, and to the guy constantly requesting the Ant Bully game, like, dude, chill, I'll do it. Well, you know, eventually. Probably.
Is that so?
Aye.
It is.
Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye for now.
Have a lovely day.